Hey everyone, welcome back to Unity. Today we're going to be taking, well, if you haven't done your homework this might look a little unfamiliar, but basically last week you were supposed to turn our little tutorial game here into a little maze. No sort of advanced features like a finish line or a first-person camera or anything like that. But today, this video has nothing to do with your homework for this week, but it'll give you a bit more knowledge on what to do when it comes to actually making the game in Unity. So yeah, this will be just a tutorial on how to finish this maze game and make it into something a little bit more playable. Okay. So to start with, let's clear up our hierarchy here because this is hideous. We're going to make a pseudo folder, if you will. We're going to create an empty game object. I'll reset it just because, and I'll name it. Oops. I will rename it wall folder. Okay, and I'm just going to drag all of these and just drag and drop them into the folder. Okay, now this technically is a game object in the center of the world, but we'll just never use it, and therefore it acts as a folder. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the game and see what we want to add. So as it stands here, our game, I can move around and exit the maze. A maze like this, if I have a top-down perspective, it becomes super easy. So what I want to do first is sort of make it a first-person game. So that way I kind of have to look around the corners and see what's going on. So how do I do that? Well, first person means from the first person's perspective. So if I click on my main character here, I want the camera to be basically attached to my character and move around with the camera. Now you might think we would have to add our movement controls to our camera and do some sort of cloning technology, but no, that's not true at all, because there's something called inheritance. So you might have heard of inheritance in your CS classes, and there's something like that in Unity as well. So in our hierarchy, we can take our main camera and drag and drop it onto our main character, and nothing changes here, but you might notice that our movement tool here sort of got interpolated. It's put into the middle here, and if I move it around, you see it moves both our camera object and our player object. Okay, I'll move that back. And now our main camera's transform position, rotation, and scale, these are all relative to our parent object. So in inheritance you have a children object and parent objects. You see I can move the camera around without moving the player, but I can't move the player without also moving the camera. That's the parent and child relationship. So our main camera, we're going to zero it out. We're going to basically reset it. And now we are looking from the perspective of our player here. But now we don't want to have this rotated view anymore. So I'm going to zero that back, and let's play it. Alright, we are now, first person game done, complete. No, not really. So now you'll notice that there is a little bit of a flaw now, and our game worked perfectly fine before. This is the scene view. And that is because cubes are sort of the same on all sides. You never really noticed it, but our cube can't really rotate. So we're going to put in some rotation controls into our scripts. Okay, so that'll allow us to look to our right and look to our left and whatnot. Okay, let's get going. So in our script, remember you can open that up by double clicking here, or clicking in the hierarchy and double clicking here on our player movement script. Now remember, we have in our update method, we have a bunch of conditionals for whether or not we press these buttons. Well, now we need to decide what sort of buttons we want to press when we want to rotate. So a lot of people would do like the mouse, the mouse to move left and right. I think we should keep it nice and simple here and just add another button. So I'm thinking, if you look at your left hand, WASD, I think Q and E would be pretty good for rotating left and right. So that's what I'm going to add. I'm going to just copy this one down here, paste it twice, and say when the user presses Q, when the user presses E, I'll change it right there to Q and E, And we can sort of get rid of this, get rid of these, and I'll give a little space here to indicate that these are different. Okay, I'll write a new comment and this say turn the player to the, let's see, when we press Q we want to rotate to the left, so I can just say counterclockwise as well. Okay, turn the player, oh, not to the counterclockwise, there we go. Turn the player clockwise. Okay, perfect. Now we need to actually add the code, and that is the hard part, not adding comments. Okay, so let's, like we did with the movement, let's see what turning clockwise and turning clockwise actually means. So if you go over here to this tool, you notice it changes our little arrows to these little guys. And now if I take the, I think it's the green one, so let's see, if I want to turn left, which would be turning this way, our Y rotation gets bigger. Or, sorry, it gets smaller. And when I turn to the right, it gets bigger. Okay, so let's just see how that works. I'll say transform dot, what is it going to give me? Okay, I found the problem. External script editor in preferences was on open by file extension for some reason. It needs to be changed to Microsoft Visual Studio. I can regenerate the project. I'll cancel out of this. I'll regenerate the project files, and then I'll open up the script again, and then we should be working. Okay, does that work? Will it give me IntelliSense? I think so. Transform, there we go. Transform, now we have our commands at our fingertips. I'll try transform.rotate. Let's see, what does it want from us? No overload, takes 0 arguments, applies a rotation. Let's see, it wants a vector 3 Euler space relative to, okay, let's try vector dot, let's see, there's a rotate and there's a rotate around. Let's read what they do. So transform.rotate applies a rotation of Euler angles z around the z-axis, x around the x-axis, and y around the y-axis. And rotate around rotates the transform around about an axis passing through point in the world angles. I think that will be a point in world coordinates. Let's just try it. Let's see. If I type in rotate around, let's see, we wanted the y-axis. We wanted the y into the negative. Okay, so left is negative. Counterclockwise is left. I'm thinking here. Let's try 0, -10, 0. Let's see if this works. And likewise, we'll try this one with a positive number. And let's just see if 10 works. Actually, you know, we've done variables already. Let's add another variable. Instead of speed, we'll call it like rotation speed. Public float rot speed for rotation speed. Okay, and I'll just copy this and add this here to our magnitude. There we go. And then in our inspector here, I can actually add the speed. So I'll make it 10 by default. Let's see if that's either way too fast or way too slow. Oh, that is very fast. I'm not even quite sure which direction it's going. Okay, let's make it, I'm guessing even 1's going to be too fast. Let's try 0.5. Okay, Q. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think it's even still a little fast, but now I can navigate. I'm genuinely lost. Wow, the maze game just became a lot better. I think this is the way. Oh yeah, this is the way. Okay. Our maze game just became a lot better. Cool. Awesome. Now, quite an improvement, but still not complete, I would say. Next week we have on the syllabus scheduled asset implementation, so we're going to avoid using sound or implementing sound, music, and different forms of art. But in the meantime, we can work with UI, so that's what we're going to be doing. So what I want is a little, I want to exit the maze and to be notified that I've completed the maze. Like I want words to pop up on the screen saying, "You win, congratulations." Okay, so we're going to work backwards here. We're going to first start by creating that message, and then we're going to try to trigger it. Okay, so in our hierarchy here, we can right-click, go to UI, which stands for User Interface, and you have a lot of options here. And when we go to creating menus, we'll worry about all the buttons and whatnot. But for now, let's just add text. You can get rid of that. Okay, fine, import. Okay, I'm going to rename this to victory text. Oh, and by the way, it created a canvas object here. If you scroll all the way out, you can see this huge white square here. This corresponds to our game window. See, I can make it bigger or smaller. And the canvas is basically, you can think about it as where you put all the UI objects. So the victory text here, and it's best viewed if we scroll all the way out. I'm actually gonna move. Oops, not that. I'm gonna move my game view and hide it behind my scene view. Okay. I'm gonna give myself a better perspective here, probably right around here, and we can use these tools over here in the like rectangular transform to sort of first of all reset back to 0, 0, and now our text is in the middle of the screen. We can go ahead and widen it a bit. I'll make it probably 500 by 200, should be pretty good. And down here in the Text Mesh Pro, I can actually change the text, and I'll call it, I'll just say, "You win," in all caps, of course. Congrats. Okay, you can download different text styles and fonts as well, but we won't worry about that for now. I'll just adjust the font size to something massive like that, 69, why not? And I'll make it, what colors have we've been using green and purple? Let's use another purple. How about right like that? Okay. We want to center it, of course, just like that. That should be good. Okay, and then what do we want? Okay, so now we basically have our text here, and we can enable and disable our text by clicking this little button here. Okay, so what do we want? Let's keep it off for now because we want it off while we're playing the game, and we want to run around our maze here. And once we fall through here, we want to enable this button. Okay, so let's do that. So first, we need basically an invisible border here that tells us when we've intersected it. Okay. So let's go ahead and create that. I'm going to move the canvas down here, just rearrange some things. Let's do that. Let's create an empty object. Okay, I'm going to call it victory border. I'm going to reset the transform. Now let's move it. I'll go back to my move tool, press Control. Okay, I'll put it right around here, and now we need to actually, it's kind of hard to see, so we're going to give it a rigid body. Oh no, sorry, not a rigid body. Wrong component. A collider. We're going to give it a box collider. And so, like I mentioned in one of our other videos, if two objects have a collider, then if these little green boxes will, if they intersect, see there's a box collider, the little green box. If they intersect, then it'll tell the computer, it'll tell Unity that there's been a collision, and then you can make certain special things happen. Okay, so let's actually move it down towards the end here. I'm going to say probably right around there is good. Let's move it down as well. Right in the center. And now we can actually make it bigger. Let's make it bigger on the x-axis, probably right around there is good. I can make it big. It doesn't really matter how big it is. Okay, so now if our cube here comes into contact with this green outline here, then, well, it'll do nothing now, but not for long. Okay, so Yeah, we'll keep that there. And yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. Now we need to, on our main character, we have a box collider, we have a rigid body. So now in our, we can add another script to do this, but since it's not that much coding, I'll just keep it on the same script for now. In our player movement script, we have our update. We're going to actually work outside of the update field here, and we're going to add something called, stay with me here, on collision enter. So this is a function that is already been predefined by Unity as an argument. It takes a collision. So a collision is a special type of as like a data type that is not really in C#. It's just a Unity thing, and we use it to, in the collision data type, it has data such as the tags, the name, the game object type, and whatnot. So we can use that to our advantage by saying, so on collision enter, this will happen whenever the game object that the script is on, which is our player, comes into contact with another collider. So the only other collider, there are colliders on our plane and on our cubes here, so that's going to be a problem. So we need to detect basically which collider we're talking about. So let's just test that for now. Let's just say debug.log to throw us a message, and we'll say you've hit something. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, and now you see over here on our console here, if I can click down here, I've hit something. So whenever we run into something, it sort of gives us that message. And you see, even if I, oops, that's upsetting. Okay, but we don't want that. We want it to only happen when we collide with our specific victory border here. Okay, so we don't want it to say that. We want it to. We will also want to have another conditional. We want to say if our collision dot game object. So that is the game object of the thing we collided with, and that will be referring to this victory border here. If this game object's name equals, which is a test, well, what is its name? It's victory border, no spaces, capital first letters. Victory border. You can also do it by tag too, or game object type, but we'll keep it like this for now. And then I'll add our curly braces and add this in there. So now it should only make that happen when we collide with our game object here. I'm going to go back to full screen. Okay, now let's try it. And all of a sudden, we don't have, oh, it's really fast. Might have to turn that down a little. Okay, now the moment of truth. Hey, I've hit something, but I am just passing through it, so that, or I'm not passing through it, so that's kind of a problem. Okay, but we'll worry about that later. Anyways, it worked. So what do we want to do now? Well, instead of just having this debug statement, we can go ahead and get rid of that. We want to enable our, I know that was like 5 minutes ago, you might have forgotten, but our canvas, our victory text here, we want to enable this on the screen. Okay, so what we need to do is create a reference to it in our script so that we can enable and disable it as we please. Okay, so we can do that up here. We can add in a public text object, and you'll see like, oh no, it's not doing that, it's just pulling up something else. We need to actually add another using tag up here. We'll call it using Unity, and this will just add in a bunch of features that weren't with this Visual Studio by default. We can just tell it to use it using Unity editor, or no, using Unity editor dot UI. I think that's it. Public, well, we're about to see. Public text. Oh, I think it's Unity Engine. If I can type. There we go. So now it turned green. It's an actual object. We're going to call it victory text. Okay, awesome. And now we can actually enable and disable this as we please. If I go over here to victory text dot, oh, okay, it's actually a function. We're going to go to set victory text dot game object dot set active true. That's the function. There we go. So victory text is our text object. We're gonna find. We could actually just instead make the public reference to the game object itself. But in case we want to change the text in the future, it's useful to just keep it like this and just reference the game object directly here. So victory text, we want the game object that's attached to it, and we're gonna set active true. Set active false would be disabling it, but it's disabled by default. So just like that, if I save it, it's not going to work because if you look in our main character, there's no reference here. It doesn't know what we're talking about. But handy feature in Unity, we can just take the thing we're trying to reference and drag it in directly. Oops. Okay, so I think I've found the solution. It turns out we're not actually going to use Text Mesh Pro. It doesn't vibe well with the things we're trying to do. So instead of having your victory text here, we're going to just delete that. I'm going to go to Canvas, and you don't have to change any of the script either. This works well with just the text feature. The reason I couldn't find it is because it's under legacy here. It's text, and now we're going to call it victory text, and we're going to sort of create the same thing. Okay, victory text, you win, congrats. Okay, it's already centered. Let's make it a lot wider and a lot taller. I'm going to change the font size to 69. Center, center, and I'll change the color, and then we should be good to go. Okay, fun. So now, if I go to the main character, the text here, this is going to be embarrassing if it also doesn't work. There we go, it works. Okay. So now I'll zoom way back in here. You can shift, move to move a lot faster. Okay, now let's give it a try. Okay, we got a okay, turn it off by default, and now let's give it a try. Oops, forgot I have to move around. I would like to turn down these movement controls. It is kind of extremely fast. Okay, I win! Let's go! Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. I hope some of these things helped you. The tools you use here can be used for way more things than just a maze game. I hope you can add what you've learned here to your own games, projects, midterms, finals, and all that. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. If the things I taught here aren't working for you, please reach out to me at my email. And yeah, I'll see you in the next tutorial.